Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today for this webinar organized by Navozyme. At Navozyme, we have developed cutting-edge technology solutions for critical maritime certification processes covering port clearance, marine pollution, bunkering, and seafarers training certifications. These solutions benefit diverse maritime stakeholders, including ship owners, maritime and port authorities, MARPOL operators, maritime training institutions, and most importantly, the seafarers themselves. And today we are focusing on them. In this latest edition of the Navigating New Waves webinar series, we are privileged to have Dr. Syed Asif Altaf, Global Wellbeing and HIV Program Coordinator at the International Transport Workers Federation, discussing mental health's impact on seafarers with Anjaney Borwankar, Navozyme's co-founder and Chief Executive. Before we welcome our speakers, I encourage you to send your questions to Dr. Asif through the question box. We will be monitoring them closely. Now, without further delay, I would like to welcome Dr. Asif and Anjaney Borwankar. The floor is yours, Anjan.
Thank you, Elisenda. Dr. Asif, you can also switch on your video. Dr. Asif, are you still there? Okay, I see him there. I think I can't have the session on my own. I'm not the expert on mental health. But while we wait for Dr. Asif to switch on his video, let me also just begin by giving the introduction. Okay, I see you in a new window.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Can you see me now?
Yes, I do see you now. I think you've got two connections going. So maybe the previous connection is all you have to do is switch on the video there.
Okay.
Yeah. If you do that, then I think we should be fine.
Yeah, I'm thinking I can see one screen now.
Yeah, now you're fine. Okay, so welcome. Now, official welcome to you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, right? We met, actually, we spoke earlier, and you are in this wonderful country, Croatia, where we met actually, almost a year ago. And you gave a talk on a similar topic on mental health for seafarers. And I found that fascinating. And here we are. So I'll give you the floor shortly, but let me, for the benefit of the audience, by the way, the audience that I've been informed, we've got over 90 people registered from about a dozen countries. They come from various profiles in the maritime industry. Some of them are related with policy making, some of them are seafarers, and then we have all the range in between, from port authorities to ship owners, etc. So welcome to the audience, to the global audience that's there. For those who have not been able to connect, we'll also be recording this session and making it available on various channels that we have, so that you can look at the wealth of information that Dr. Asif is going to share with us. So why mental health? I think this is a question that probably some of you may be wondering, why mental health? Though COVID has actually shown us the importance of mental health, whether you're a seafarer or not, right? So when you are in isolation, often funny things happen in your mind. The mind is a powerful tool, but can also be a double-edged sword. So if not kept in control, can actually lead to disaster. So we have seen lots of challenges over the last few years, And the topic of mental health, whether it's for seafarers or the general public, has become more and more important. At Navozyme, with our mission of actually enhancing lives for the maritime community, and being a former seafarer myself, while I was preparing for this topic, I started recognizing that perhaps there were moments in my sea career when my mental health was not at its best state, but I could not even recognize that. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation with Dr. Syed Asif Altaf Chowdhury. That's his full name. I'm going to call him Dr. Asif, and we've grown to be good friends also over time. So without further ado, the way the format will be is as follows. So Dr. Asif is going to give a presentation, speak for about 15-20 minutes. He has some slides to show as well, which will help support his messages. After that, I will have a conversation. It'll be a Q&A. It'll be a discussion about what is mental health, how does it affect seafarers, and so on. But those of you who are participating live, you're invited to submit your questions via the Q&A, and I'll be moderating those questions as well, right? So we'll bring up some of your questions for the expert to answer. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it to Dr. Asif to give his presentation. During that time, I will have my camera off, but I'm listening in. And once you're done, I'll be back for our second part of the conversation. So over to you, Dr. Asif. If you would like to
Thank
share
you.
your screen. Yeah.
Thank you, sharing my screen. Thank you very much for Anjaney and Navozyme for inviting me in this session. In fact, just before I joined you in this session, I'm in Croatia now doing a seminar with the cruise seafarer. We have 100 and not 60 cruise seafarer from 10 European countries with us. So, and talking about mental health from 9 in the morning to 2:30 p.m. local time.
Okay.
So, like when we talked about mental health, like as you mentioned, why it's so important. So I will go through that, and I'll try to address or try to explain why we need to do something and what we are doing in the ITF. First of all, let me tell you that ITF is an umbrella organization for transport trade unions. We represent 19 million workers in 150 countries, and we represent all transport workers, and it includes 1 million seafarers, globally. So we are quite big, and we have seafarers union in all major seafaring country, including in Croatia, where I am. So for us, can we get the next slide, please? Why it's important for us? Because well-being and mental health is an important topics for transport workers. Before mental health, HIV was a big important topic, especially for truck drivers. We as a trade union umbrella, we have seen that our truck driver friends and union members, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, has a huge challenge of HIV problem. And nowadays, what we are seeing that we are getting lots of messages from seafarers, cross-cutting seafarer, not seafarer from one country, seafarer from all part of the world, where they are connecting with us through email, through WhatsApp, through Messenger, through Facebook, and asking our support to manage their stress and manage their mental health condition. So it's not something that we think important because we are thinking is important because our members, as I said, we represent 1 million seafarers. They are telling us, they are requesting us, they are demanding our support on mental health issue. If you go to the next slide, in fact, before the COVID, it's always an issue. Like we always talked about mental health and seafarers. Like we always know about it. We talked about it. Even the stakeholders, employers, unions, government officials, we all talked about it, but we did not have really solid data. So in 2019, before the COVID, we requested Yale University in the USA, which is one of the best public health university in the world. So it's not an ITF study. So we just commissioned Yale University to do the study for us. And according to the study, and it was a cross-cutting global study involving European, Asian, American seafarer, like all seafarer cross-cutting. It's involved both men and women, container, cruise ship, tanker, bulk carrier. It includes men and women. It includes seafarers as young as 18 and seafarers as old as 60 plus. It includes seafarer very less experienced to most experienced. And that study, the Yale University study, told us that almost 28% seafarers in that study have mental health condition. So these are not what you call stress. We all have stress. In fact, I was having a session in the Dubrovnik with this cruise seafarer. I was saying, even after we die, our family will have stress for our funeral because funeral is so expensive nowadays. But this 28% talks have mental health condition which is not stress and which needs treatment and management. So I always say, if we think this study is not 100% correct, it's 10%. So even 10% means in a container ship, there's 2 seafarer who has mental health issue. And a cruise ship, there are 100 seafarer who has mental health issue. So it's a reality. And it's before the COVID. And I'm quite sure. In fact, all the literatures tell us that after the COVID pandemic, this issue has intensified. In fact, for seafarers, it is more because some seafarer has to be on board ship for even 2 years because they cannot go home. The airport in their country was closed. So this is the picture. This is a study, authentic study, is in the public domain. You just write Yale University, seafarers and mental health. This study whole report will come out. So it's in the public domain and from a very reputed university. So next slide. Then we did a survey. Norwegian Seafarer Union, one of our most important union in Europe, has done a survey on harassment and bullying last year. And it says that 20% of seafarers, they say they are bullied or harassed in workplace. 9% responded about sexually harassment in workplace. And 22% have reported objectionable behavior in workplace. So think of a seafarer who are out of their home for a long time and having bullied every day for last 3-4 years, what the negative mental health situation he or she is facing. So it's when the harassment and bullying is such a high level, then we are quite nervous, and we are quite like thoughtful that what we can do, because this is a serious issue. So in addition to the conventional causes of mental health problem for seafarers, the number of harassment and bullying at onboard ship is quite significant. And again, this was done by a research organization. This is not done by Norwegian Seafarer Union. They just commissioned an external research organization in Norway to do that for them. And it's showing very alarming figure that very high level of harassment and bullying for seafarers. Both more women seafarers face this, also for men seafarers. So next slide, please. We know most of the things, like seafarer out of the home, we know about this. But I would say mental health is still a taboo and stigmatized. I'm in Croatia with people from 10 countries, Serbia, Croatia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, Romania, Ukraine, Moldova, even all those countries that's talking about that, people don't talk about mental health because people think if I talked about mental health, people will think I'm crazy and mad. So, but mental health, having a mental health issue does not mean I am crazy or mad. I have some mental health condition which can be treated and managed, and I can perform like any others. And another thing we have seen recently, that the new cadets are not prepared for the demanding and challenging job. The new cadets thinks, oh, being a seafarer, I can move around the world. Such a nice thing to do, good salary. But they don't understand that it's a demanding and challenging job. I will not use the word difficult job, but it's demanding and challenging job. And we have seen that the seafarers are not that well prepared before their first voyage. And that's why, according to the data, 30% of suicide among seafarers on board ship are among cadets. First 1 year of all the suicide at on board ship are among cadets. We also have to understand that we are talking about millennial and Z generation seafarers who are born with this device, not one device, some of them has two, three devices. Seafarer who are born in 80s, 70s, and even 90s did not have this device or phone, iPad, iPhone, laptop, and everything. For a young seafarer of 21 year age, 22 year age, mobile phone and the gadgets are their life. So they cannot think of their life without the device. So when we're talking about mental health for seafarers, especially young seafarers, we have to keep that in consideration about this millennial and Z generation, where they're born with this device and they live with their device. A long contract, we all know about it, but also we have to understand, remember that uh, for you and me, if we have mental health condition, we have access to service. For example, I live in London. If I have mental health problem, I can go to the NHS, which is fantastic health system, and I can get access to psychological support. I have access to treatment. But seafarers sometimes don't have access to that. So here I will emphasize on three issues. Still a stigma issue, mental health. They are not prepared for the challenging job, especially the Z generation seafarers, the younger ones who are born after 2000, and they don't have proper access and good access to the services. Sometimes if they have access, they're afraid of using the service because those are managed by the company and they're afraid of blacklisting. So this is the context why mental health is important for seafarers. If we go to the next slide, and we have to understand that stress is not a disease. Stress is a state. Whenever the way our body responds when demand placed on us is more than the resource we have, we face stress. And this is part of life. And stress is not bad. Sometimes stress motivates us. Like for me, before the exam, I'm stressed, and that motivates me to study harder and do better in my exam. So stress is not always bad, and stress is not a disease. But we have to all understand that if stress is too much, 9 months, same stressful condition, 9 months, bullying and harassment, 9 months, missing the internet, 9 months, not intermittent connected with the friends and family. For millennial generation and Z generation, not having good internet for 9 months is a disaster for recipe for disaster. So we have to understand the context that it is a long time thing. It's not 1 or 2 day feeling sad or stressed. It's a 9 month job for many of the ratings. Even for the officers, it's 4 months. So it's a long term thing. When the stress is too much for too long, it will lead to physical and mental health problems. It will lead to depression. It will lead to anxiety. It will lead to suicide. So that's the context we are talking about. So it's not stress for a day, it's about over the period. If you go to the next slide, so what, and I need to emphasize some facts and myths. Stress is same for everyone. So sometime on board ship, what we see that some people think that, oh my God, we are working together with the Ukrainian. For example, I'm Indian. I'm working with the Filipinos and Russians and Turkish. So they don't have stress. Why I have so stress? So we have to understand that stress is not same for everyone. And some of us are good in hiding the stress, which is also not good. So we are all different threshold to manage it and how we cope with it. But we have to remember that stress is not same for everyone. And we have to also understand and remember that no symptom does not mean no stress. It always takes some time to develop symptoms and signs. So we as a seafarer, we as a human being, we as an individual, as a father, as a colleague, as a husband, whatever role, as a supervisor, whatever role we have, we have to go through lots of stress. But we have to understand that we have to notice that is everything okay with me? Am I doing well? Because sometimes I have stress, but I don't see it. So we have to remember that no symptom does not mean no stress. And another big issue, even not only in South Asia, even I was in Baltic region and Black Sea region, even there's a notion that men should hold their stress and their strong macho thing, and they should not cry, which is also putting extra pressure, extra stress on the men seafarer. And we have to agree that 95% In fact, 97 to 98% of the global seafarers are men. And if we have that notion that men are strong, you need to hold their stress, that's more dangerous and difficult. So that's the context again. So what we can do and what we are doing. So next slide, please. So when we talk to managing stress, we have to think in two ways. One is the content and one is the context of the work. When we're talking about the content, is about the workload, hours, method, and the work environment. That's the thing we need to remember when we are talking about managing stress for seafarers. And the context is status and pay. We have to understand that although the salary of a seafarer is reasonably better, most of the time the better than the national salary of many other countries like Philippines, a seafarer earn much more than average Filipino in Philippines. Same with Indians and some other country. But at the same time, there are many bad ship owner who does not pay the seafarer their due salaries. So pay is not always um, like is a bright side. Sometimes it can be a problem for some seafarers, and sometimes there's unsupportive supervision. And again, we have to understand that for you and me who work on shore, we work in office, maybe work 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours, whatever. We go back home. For seafarers, home and workplace is the same place. They are on the ship. So work-life balance is a big issue for seafarers, which is not for us. So for managing seafarer stress, we have to keep that in mind. And gender-based discrimination, sexual harassment is still there. And again, lack of leisure activity, lack of education about health. So when we are talking about managing stress for seafarers, like what we can do and what we should do and what we should do together with other stakeholders, I think we need to keep in mind the content and the context of the work in which seafarers are working. So next slide, please. As an ITF, I want to share what we are doing, and we are not doing alone. ITF is doing its affiliates with different stakeholders. First of all, we have developed a program called First Responder and Peer Support Training Program for union leaders, educators, organizers, and seafarers. So when a seafarer call a union person, they know how to talk to a person with stress. At the same time, we are creating a first responder and peer support work educator on board ship among the seafarers, so that they can support other workers, other seafarers on board ship. So we do continuous education session for seafarers before they go on board ship. We use different social media. We do Facebook live session on regular basis to create awareness and education session, because nowadays they don't stay in port long time. They cannot visit the seafarer center much to take materials. So you have to use social media. We have to use the channels that seafarer can access, and like. In fact, nowadays seafarer like social media a lot. So we use the social media a lot to convey our message, convey the education. Another important thing what we are doing is that we are working with different maritime universities and academies and different governments to introduce a short 20 hours module on managing stress in the maritime curriculum, because we believe that as the deaths, suicide among cadets are high, and it is always easy to change the behavior when you are young. So we are trying to, we are incorporating a module of managing stress in the maritime curriculum. I am proud to say in Croatia there are 5 universities. All 5 universities have incorporated this module. We are working with the Indonesian government to incorporate this module in all schools. We have done this work in Malaysia. We have done this work in Vietnam, Philippines, India. We'll be doing in Turkey, South Africa. We have done it. We have done in Ukraine. We have done it Colombia, Chile, Honduras, Uruguay, Panama. So in many seafaring supplying country, we are working with the academies and the stakeholders of our union to incorporate this module in the curriculum. We are doing awareness materials. We do high-level advocacy meeting with stakeholders, with employers, International Chamber of Shipping, government stakeholders, IMO, ILO, to work together to support the seafarers on mental health issue. And our union have started 24/7 counseling service for seafarers and their family, because seafarers sometimes do not use the company supported counseling service because of the fear of stigma and because of blacklisting, perceived blacklisting. So many of our union, major seafaring supplying country union like India, Philippines, Ukraine, Indonesia, they all have 24/7 counseling service, not only for the seafarers. Sometimes we forget about the family members of the seafarers who also go through stress as their loved one are on ship. So these are the three of the things that the ITF and its union is doing. We are not doing on our own. Definitely, we are doing with other stakeholders, government, maritime universities, maritime academies, government of different countries, Ministry of Transport. And that's the things we are doing. Next slide, please. So yeah, as we say, we try to connect with our seafarers through a number of ways. We have an app called ITF Wellbeing app. We have a Facebook page called ITF Wellbeing. We have thousands of people who follow this page, so they can connect by just one click message or send an email. Any seafarer from anywhere in the world can connect with ITF for any of their well-being need, including mental health need, and wherever they are. For example, if a seafarer is connecting with me from Panama, we have an inspector, ITF inspector in Panama. I'll be able to support that seafarer. Could be an Indian seafarer, could be a Russian seafarer needing support in Panama. Through our support system in Panama, I'll be able to help that seafarer. So there, through following this Facebook page, we are in constant touch with them, and we also update different well-being information. Can they take care of themselves, especially self-care? We put things in our Facebook page. I can tell you, seafarers love Facebook. So this is one of our most popular method or channel to reach our seafarers to provide the support. So these are the few things I want to share with you, and I'll be more than happy uh, to answer your question if you have. And again, this Wellbeing Facebook page, whoever listening to this, following this page, or who will be listening later on, you are most welcome to follow this page and come out with anything you think important for you. And we are open to collaboration, partnership. As Anjan said, I met him last September. In 7 months, we developed friendship, common mutual interest, both of us trying to help seafarers. So whoever is listening to this and will be listening to this, from the ITF side, we are always open to collaboration, partnership, working together, because we all care about seafarers. We all want to support seafarers. That's from me, Anjaney.
Thank you, Dr. Asif, for that very comprehensive and yet concise presentation, um, addressing really the key points. No, what exactly is mental health for seafarers? Why is that important? What is ITF doing here? So you've really addressed quite a lot of points here. I'm going to throw out a few more questions for you. Meanwhile, I just want to remind the audience that's connected that you can submit your questions via the Q&A. I also recognize that there are a number of friends that I know who are actually connected online, and I want to just acknowledge them as well, right? So from the Nautical Institute, Qasim Mohammed, Captain Stephen Thomas, who's our advisory board member, and also Dr. Ramirez from the Philippines, who's actually done a lot of research on Filipino overseas workers, right? So we really have some very good people connected who can also contribute to the questions and comments. So Dr. Asif, now um, if I can get a bit personal, you being a medical doctor, right, and you've got a wealth of experience across the globe. Uh, what brought your interest towards seafarers first, and then on the topic of mental health? Because since the moment I met you, I remember you for the message of mental health for seafarers. So you're doing something right. But how did you get so passionate about this topic? Sorry, you're on mute again. Yeah.
So I think, as a medical doctor, I always fascinated about the preventive aspect of medicine. In fact, I passed from one of the best school in fact, the best school in Bangladesh, Dhaka Medical College, and many of my friends are professors earning much more than me. But I always fascinated about the preventive side of medicine. That's number one point. And that's why I did my master's in public health from North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And my personal experience of mental health issues. So my own personal experience of mental health problem, as a doctor, as a public health person working on that, I've seen that I am not immune to it. I am vulnerable to stress. I am vulnerable to mental health condition like anxiety disorder and depression, and that really trigger my focus that if a person like me who is a medical doctor who is for last 20 years 80 years working on public health is not immune, still vulnerable to have mental health problem. And now what about seafarers? Because for the audience, for the last 24 years, I'm working with ITF for last 18 years in the head office in London as the Wellbeing coordinator. Before that, 6 years I was working with Care International on HIV program for transport workers. So my connection with the transport workers and seafarers for 24 years. So for 24 years, I'm working on well-being. In the beginning, it was more on HIV. For last 10 years on mental health. So I have met thousands of seafarers, and I have traveled to 86 countries for my work. So I have met thousands of seafarers from different part of the world, and I talk to them one to one, and I've seen the reality of the need. I have seen that when he or she talk to me, share their feeling about their stress, about their mental health condition, and when they know somebody is behind them to support, how powerful is that message? When I write on WhatsApp to a seafarer who connect me through Messenger, telling them that we will do our best to support you. You can count me on your side. I have seen what a powerful message that two lines can give. I know the power. I have seen the power where as a simple human being, a simple medical person, a simple public health person, I can be so powerful to another person who is going through mental health issue by saying that you can count me on your side. You will be okay soon. Don't worry, life will be better. It has a huge power. So that's really motivates me. That really pushed me to do more. Trust me, Anjaney, I having have a session from 8:30 to 2:30. I'm on my own for 6 hours with 60 participants. I took a 15-minute break. I jump into this. I could easily say no to you, but I think whatever experience I have, I can share with others, and that can help others. So we can all do something to help seafarers, and we are doing this. We are attending this session because we care for seafarers.
Wow, that's a very powerful message. Really. Also, thank you for personally opening up and sharing that even as a medical doctor, you faced personal challenges, and that helped you recognize that the importance. Also, from what it seems to me, from what you've said, uh, providing help is can be as simple as also just saying that I am there to listen to you. Somebody there to care for you, right? So you're not alone, which is very interesting for me also. Um, I'm going to delve a little deeper because for me this topic is of great interest, but I'm very new to this topic. And I'm also interested in seeing if through technology we can actually in some way assist in maybe detecting, aiding, helping, if possible, of course, and also to know what's out there. But let me take it step by step. So for me, the first question is, how do I know if I am going through stress, or sometimes I didn't even know that I was under stress, right? So are there some mechanisms, or is it only from hindsight, or somebody else recognizes it first? Are there any simple checklists or questions, or anything you can help us, like a layman, understand
Yeah. So
whether?
yeah, in fact, like we run a campaign called reflect, recognize, and reach out. So we need to
Okay.
reflect that everybody can have stress. And as you said, we need to recognize. Self-recognition is the first thing. So it's always better to self-recognize. That's why, like, for example, last 5.5 hours with 60 seafarers from 10 countries working in, there are 8 captains, there are 5 chief engineers, a senior seafarer with us in this room where I'm sitting. And the thing we discuss is about self-recognition, self-realize that like self-identification that something is not right. And again, let me repeat, I really think it's important. There's a huge difference between saying something is wrong with me and something's all right with me. When I say something is wrong with me, it starts with a negative connotation. If I if I realize that something is not right with me, I can make it right. So whenever we do education through training, through Facebook live session, through our our well-being page in the Facebook, or our any channel of communication with seafarers, we always give like simple, like what are the behavioral symptoms, what are the psychological signs and symptoms, what are the physical signs and symptoms. How do I know something is not right? If I'm headache for last 2 weeks, if I cannot eat for last 2 weeks properly, if I'm getting angry last 2 weeks very quickly, I'm having problem with my spouse. Whenever I call my spouse, I'm irritated. So if some of the symptoms last for more than 2 weeks, I should think myself, is everything okay with me? So you're right that it's very important that we try to learn. And nowadays, Google can be very good, but Google can be very disturbing also. We need to do the right thing. Again, whoever listening to this and who will be listening in the future, whenever you look at Google's about the sign and symptom, try to go to a scientific site. Like, don't go to any Wikipedia or any site. Like, for example, CDC, for example, NHS in UK. So what are the signs and symptoms of stress to know I have stress? So please, 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 because sometimes the information will be misleading. But as Anjaney, you mentioned, it's important that I understand, you understand, all of us understand that something is not right with me because I'm having this symptom. When I understand that, when I recognize that, then the healing process starts. Then I will do something. Something is not right. Okay, what is not right? Let me find out. Then the healing process. Nowadays, again, young millennial generation, Z generation love the word healing. So there's a new word I'm learning also. The healing will start, healing of stress will start from that point. When I acknowledge something is not right, I need to do something. That's the trigger point. Something good will start.
No, fantastic. Thanks for explaining. And I like how you said the framing is important, right? So something is not right, not that something is wrong with you. Yeah. So something is not right, and recognize that through the different signs. Again, naturally, if we are little self-aware, I think we know when we are going through stress, but often we don't recognize it and reflect on it. So I think uh, the space required for that to be done, right? And then what you're saying is the moment you recognize that, there's a lot of power and self-healing can begin.
Yeah, that's why I say more education. We need to talk about it. There's a stigma and silence about it. Trust me, my friend. There's a stigma and silence is killing people. So we need to educate people. We need to tell people it's okay to talk about mental health. We need to tell people that you can have stress. I can have stress. Even young kids can have stress. But stress can be managed. So it's more about creating education and awareness. Like you are a more of a tech related organization trying to help seafarers, but even you think that you have a role to play. Navozyme has a role to play. So more we talk about it, more we discuss about it, more we get open about it, people will know about it, seafarer will know about it. Again, 3 years back, we rarely get any message from seafarer writing to us, I'm depressed, I'm suicidal, help me. Nowadays, every week we get WhatsApp, email, and messages.
Oh, wow.
Because people are aware. People know that they are stressed. People know that support is there. People know that ITF is an organization which will provide confidential, not judgmental service without informing the employers. So it's all about creating the awareness, creating the safe space, as you mentioned, creating that enabling environment where seafarers feel comfortable to talk to someone.
Got it. Yeah. So thanks for sharing this. So we have a question coming, which has come in from Qasim Masood from the Nautical Institute, and it's more about: is there any recent data about onboard suicide? So, like percentages, or you just gave a statistic. No, every week you're seeing someone saying that they are suicidal. Any data on that that's available?
In fact, this is a very interesting question. Like, if you do I always do a Google search. So there is the last data we have in the Google, like we all do Google literature review. So I think 2015 PNI Club data, that was around 200 suicide happened. Again, and out of that, 230% were cadets. So for example, we have 140 inspector worldwide. So from our inspector, every year we hear about minimum 50 suicide just from our inspector, which is a huge number. Another thing we have to understand that sometimes both the union and the seafarers family don't want to mention the suicide because many CBA does not cover suicide as a compensation of death. So this is a very interesting and tricky point. Even from the ITF side, only the Norwegian Seafarer Union in their CBA, suicide is covered as a death compensation. Most of the CBA among seafarers, if it is suicide, they are not covered by that insurance. They will not get 125,000 US dollar as a death compensation. So sometimes it's a gray area. Sometimes we know seafarers family know it's suicide, but we try to make a point that is a heart attack or whatever, or is a drowning accident, because it is a double burden for the family. Suicide happened, not getting $125,000 death penalty. So figure about suicide will be always a debatable issue until all the collective bargaining agreement are covered with suicide death compensation. Because we sometimes hide it because we don't want our seafarers family missing out death compensation. So for the question, Google search says around 200 to 300 every year. That's the average. That's the data coming from Google, but we feel it will be more than that.
Yeah. No, thanks for explaining this, and also this angle on the CBA, right? Which really is important. I would even add there's a third stigma. No, many families, especially in Asia, would never want to say that their family member passed away committing suicide. So yeah, very interesting. So the numbers are probably much higher. Okay, we've got a couple of more questions coming in, so I'll take them first. Captain Stephen Thomas is asking, as part of a team reviewing and updating the OOW, Officers of Watch Training record process, should we be looking at adding a task for the OOW candidates dealing with mental health? What is the one item you would suggest is best addressed in this way? So for candidates who are under training to become officers, should they be given some sort of an item here? It's a very good, interesting question. Yeah. I think you've gone on mute again.
I think that's a very interesting point. Sometimes we feel that officers are well paid. They don't have stress. They have more responsibility. They can have more stress also. So I think all seafarers, whatever the position, need to be aware that they can be stressed. That is a reality. Trust me. For 10 years working on mental health, I'm not immune to it. I'm vulnerable to it. Especially during the COVID time, I have to take antidepressant for 2 years. So because my whole life changed. So for any seafarers, whatever the rank, they must know they can be stressed. They need to know how they self-recognize the signs and symptoms of stress. And we have to understand, my friends, that 95 to 98% of the stress can be managed without medication and psychological support.
Oh, okay.
It can be managed by doing simple things of practicing the hobby, practicing of doing gym, breathing exercise, meditation, writing journals, time management, talking to the friends you love and trust. So only 3 to 5% of the stress, which is serious in nature, need psychological support, need a doctor or a psychologist or psychiatrist. So in relation to your query, I would say, please add something in your guideline, whatever you're doing. So any officers, before they become officer, and again, officers sometimes a supervisor, they need to know that the people they will supervise will also be stressed. So they need to understand that environment on board ship. It's a supportive environment. If an officer tell a junior officer, is everything okay with you? that is a huge power. For example, if a second officer tell a third of engineer or officer, "Hi, is everything okay with you?" That has a huge power in a positive way. So I will request and recommend you, please put this simple, what is stress? Stress is everywhere. And how do I know I have stress? And what I do if I manage, if I have stress? And what I do if I cannot manage my stress myself? Reach out. There are psychological support system available everywhere now. Reaching out. So it's reflect. Everyone can have it. Recognize the sign early. More early we recognize, better we manage. And number third is reach out. Reach out to my friend I trust and care. If I don't have anyone I trust and care, there's always a support service available somewhere. If not, ITF is always there. That's our job, 24/7.
Thank you. That's a very comprehensive answer. And am I correct in saying that ITF covers basically everyone, irrespective of their CBA?
Yeah. So basically, all seafarer, we are obligated to support all seafarers. But if 3 email comes, 2 are covered by CBA, 1 are not. So maybe we'll do the first 2 with the covered with the CBA, and the third one will be
Got it.
not. But we encourage everyone to get a CBA. So that's the thing. So we said join the union. As you join the union, you'll be covered by CBA.
Got it. Okay. There's one more question. This is from the Philippines, Veronica Ramirez. And she's asking, can a seafarer who had mental health problem go back to work at sea?
This is a common myth that I have mental health problem, my career is over. No, it's all depend. Even with the HIV positive status, for Veronica, for your information, we get lots of messages from Filipino seafarers about HIV status also. They're positive, can I work? Yes, you can work with positive HIV status. You can work with mental health issue, but it's managed. For example, you have anxiety disorder, or someone of your family has anxiety disorder, or your friend has anxiety disorder. But it has to be managed first. And we have to understand that depression and anxiety disorder can be managed and treated 100%. And a person can lead normal life again. Like looking at me, listening to me, without me telling you that I have antidepressant, you would never dare think that Dr. Asif was taking antidepressant. So the point is that it's all, again, WHO, our medical guideline make it very clear that you might have medical condition, as long as it is under control, as long as it is managed, you can work on board ship. And so for your example, if you ever struggle, if the people you know are struggling to get a job because of the medical condition, they can always reach out to ITF. The best way is the ITF Wellbeing Facebook page, one message, and I'll be more than happy to support the person from Philippines individually, one-to-one. I'll be more than happy.
Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, important question also. Many people may have had that doubt. I have, we're almost coming to the end. See, time has flown like so fast, just about 10 minutes left, little less than 10 minutes. So please, any more questions, let them come in. Still, we can take a few more questions. Maybe one or two, if it's easy and it makes sense to do it in this format. Can you give us one or two tips that a first responder would do to help ease, let's say, the stress, anxiety, that somebody's feeling? Or I'm a friend, somebody has reached out to me. What is the best thing I can do at that point?
So, for example, we had 60 cruise ship seafarer today in our seminar, and in the ship, minimum 300 to 2,000 workers work together. So one thing we discussed today, that the symptom you learn today, for example, somebody is withdrawing. One of your friend, you are Indonesian, you have an Indian friend who was used to talk to you every day. Now for last 2 weeks, he's withdrawing himself, not talking to you. He used to have fun with you, now not talking to you. You can see he's doing this. You can see that he's not eating well. You are eating together next to each other. You can see he or she's not eating well. You can see that he or she's making silly mistake. So as a first responder, as a friend, it's your responsibility to reach out to him is everything okay with you, my friend? Tapping on the back. Because the whole thing about first responder is to in the workplace is to support other friends and other workers. When I see my friend, and again on board ship, we work together 9 months. And I know we know not everybody, but we know our close group. Maybe it can be 5, it can be 20. And trust me, it's so difficult to hide the symptom for a long time. You might to give a fake smile for 10 days, 15 days, 1 month, but at some point the sign and symptom will be visible. And in that during that time, that first responder seafarer who have been trained, who has been exposed, who has the knowledge, who has the skill, should reach out to the other seafarer who has not got that message, who has not been trained, who are not aware, tapping on the shoulder, my friend, you are my very good friend. I'm noticing that something maybe not right with you. Maybe not right with you. That has a huge value. That has a huge meaning to the person you are saying that. So that's the thing we are telling our first responder. You can save life even. If you reach out to someone, telling that person, are everything okay with you, my friend? That sometimes will open the floodgate of emotions, floodgate of pain, and that will ease the pain of that person. And that person might not go to depression. That person might not go to suicidal thoughts. That my friend might not go to self harm.
Wow. So sounds like a relatively simple action, but it's quite courageous. It's important that, when we recognize that we don't shy away and walk away ourselves, but we actually go up to that person. Okay. And what if somebody has actually gone a little further? So, and maybe you can help us also understand very, very briefly, but the difference between stress and depression. So if somebody's already gone into the depressive state, then is the action still valid? Is the same thing to be done, or
No,
something else?
when somebody has gone past the simple stress thing and went into this depression stage, so like the classic symptom of depression will be withdrawal symptom, so withdrawal, he or she will be withdrawing from the normal life. He or she will lose the interest of the things he or she likes. For example, somebody like cricket, from India, like crazy supporter of Virat Kohli, always talked about Virat Kohli, or always talking about Messi. And nowadays, last 2 months, he's not talking about anything about cricket and football. Last 2 months, he's withdrawing. Last 2 months, there's a feeling of hopelessness in his face. Last 2 months, he's really losing weight. And I can see a cut mark maybe here. So all this trigger, combining that person need more support than just me as a first responder. So in that case, my responsibility is to give him the phone number or through website. My friend, trust me, I'm your good friend. I want you to be well. I think something is not right with you. And I'm worried about you. I care about you. This is the phone number. Through our website, there are a number of ways you can communicate. Please give them a call. And I have training on this issue, my friend. You will be okay. You need someone more experienced than me, a psychologist, who will go through you, will listen to you, and you can keep it confidential. You don't have to tell HR about it. I will keep it confidential. So around 2% cases, a first responder might need to refer to the psychologist or psychiatrist. And again, as I said, they can reach out to us wherever they are. We have an inspector. I can connect with that inspector in Antwerp port, Barcelona port, or Panama, Mombasa. So please go to the ship. There's a person called X who is having this problem, and he doesn't want to go to the company doctor or psychologist. He doesn't mind spending $50 to go a confidential doctor. Please support him or her to go to a doctor and get the medicine. So we can do that, and we are doing that on a constant basis.
Okay. No, thanks for explaining this. And what you're saying is this is happening. So this is working already, and people are contacting. Of course, what we are doing also through this mechanism of this webinar is to raise awareness, get that message out to as many more people as required. But okay, so I'm just conscious of the time. I'm just looking in case there are any other questions. So just to wrap up and maybe give you the floor here, what would be your final messages for this audience, right? And this recording will remain for quite some time. It will go to many people. So what would you like this audience to know besides what you've already said, or want to reiterate any message as well?
I think, as you said, we have different type of stakeholders today with us from the employer side, port authority, port management side, port state control, nautical institute, seafarers themselves, crew managers. A very variety of stakeholders are listening to it and will be listening to it, because I know Navozyme is working with different stakeholders. So my humble request to you that a person who has gone through this dark side of mental health issue and working very closely with the mental health issue is that this is a reality. It's happening. It's not that it will happen tomorrow. It's happening. We need to create awareness. We need to talk more about it, whatever your position, as a teacher, as a policymaker, as an administrator, as a crew manager, as a teacher in the Maritime Academy. We need to talk more about it. And we need to create that environment and safe space for the seafarer to come out, to reach out to us for support. And we need to tell them that if somebody can take a high blood pressure medicine for lifelong, or diabetes injection for lifelong, or antiretroviral for lifelong, I can take antidepressant for few years. It's okay. It's a chronic disease. So we need to normalize this. We need to destigmatize this. We need to break the silence. And I feel like I never knew you 8 months back. Now we are working together. So more we collaborate, more we share our experience, more we try to work together. Like, whoever listening to this today or will be listening, more we collaborate, try to find the common ground of working together, trying because if you're listening to this, you care about seafarers. Otherwise, you will not spend time to be with us or listening tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So you care about seafarers. That's for sure. So yeah. So I believe in collaboration. I believe in partnership. As I said, I met Anjaney just 9 months back, and we speak the same language. We start with the mother language speaking. Now, after 6 hours of non-stop talking with 60 people, with lots of intensity with captain and chief engineer, I'm talking to you for 1 hour because I believe in it, I care for seafarers, and I want to work with everybody with you so that all seafarers are healthy and happy, not themselves, their families also.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Asif. It's clear your commitment to this cause is very clear. As you had suggested while we were preparing for this webinar, maybe a future edition can be through maybe Facebook Live with the more focus on just the seafarers, and maybe even giving them more practical tips on, how to address this big challenge that is there. So unfortunately, we are out of time, and also you've really taken out, from a very busy day, that also while you're traveling intensely. So appreciate this a lot. Thank you so much, Dr. Asif. And again, we'll be in touch. Thank you so much. I'm going to pass it back to Elisenda for closing, and we'll be in touch again. Thank you. Thanks to the audience as well.
So thanks again to Dr. Asif, of course, and the audience for joining us today. We hope you found this session as powerful and eye-opening as we sure did. We would like to request you to stay tuned for announcements of our upcoming sessions and also to follow us on LinkedIn for all the updates. We look forward to seeing you again soon, and thank you and take care.